Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the FB4 Daily. It is Wednesday, it's the 11th of September. I am Gav, as always, with you. Tonight's show, as you know, as always, is brought to you by Paddy Power. Paddy Power is a betting site, bookies, betting app, whatever way you want to look at it. If you gamble with Paddy Power. If you know, gamble responsibly, all that sort of stuff. If you want odds on Liverpool, football, sport in general, and everything else beyond that, this is the place for you to go. If you, as I said, always gamble responsibly. If you don't gamble, disregard everything I've said. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to hold it against you. It's absolutely it's your choice. Noel Cowser is the first man in the house on the chat. He says, "Good morning, Gav." Noel is either living many hours ahead of me, or he's had a drink and he thinks it's the morning. But either way, I'm not too whatever. You're welcome, Noel. Absolutely. What are we going to do tonight? I'm going to talk a little bit about the ticket prices that have caused a bit of a stir with regards to the MK Dons game. I want to look at have a rotation for the game against Newcastle. Will it won't happen? And anything else that comes in. Throw them at us. I have an Arsenal fan with me this evening. Davy is his name. Davy's going to join me. If you have any questions on Arsenal, absolutely throw them at Davy. If you have any questions at Liverpool, throw them at me. And listen, some of them might interlink: attackers, defenders, tactics, rotation, results, different things like that. Davy, how are you?
How's it going? How are you?
I'm good. You've heard that introduction. You know how it works. We have a live stream going. We have people that are constantly throwing in their opinions. So I will fire them at you as we go along. But first things first. Arsenal fan all your life.
Arsenal fan all my life, yeah. For me sins.
For your sins, absolutely.
I've known the bad times and the good times. So yeah, we're in the middling at the moment, I would say.
Okay, yeah, kind of middling. We'll get into Arsenal a little bit as we go along. I want to have a look at a couple of areas of them as we move along. The first thing I want to talk about, Davey, though, is just I don't know whether you've seen this story, but basically Liverpool play MK Dons away in the League Cup, Carabao Cup. I don't know what it's called now. It's one of those. And so what happened was Liverpool basically are drawn away, get their allocation of tickets, and as normal, the tickets are given out to season ticket holders, and then obviously it's on to members and stuff of the club, all right? I read something today about from the Spirit of Shankly group, and the Spirit of Shankly group are saying, I think it's something like 23 quid for season ticket holders and 28 quid then for members. So there's a disparity there. They've written to both clubs, and both clubs have agreed then that they will bring it down to 25 quid a ticket. The EFL have rejected this and basically says that it would counter their regulations, which is a bit mad. But I just wanted to ask you about it as an Arsenal fan, because I remember years ago going back, and I think it was Bayern Munich held up a big display about the prices of tickets at the Emirates at the time. Is there something that needs to be sorted, Davey? Because you see this, I think it's 30 quid max on an away ticket for a Premier League game now. Most, if not all, clubs have brought that in. But is there something that has to be done? Because Gary Neville spoke about naming rights for stadiums, and the money you get from that can be subsidised tickets. Does something have to be done on it?
I suppose from my perspective, you've kind of got a disparity between the two different types of clubs you have out there, right? You've obviously got Liverpool, which to me is a local club. You know what I mean? It's probably one of the top 5 biggest clubs in the world, but it's still a local club attended by local people, friends, family. You know what I mean? And that's how Liverpool is. And to me, the ticket pricing for a club like that is kind of is aimed still at the fan. You know what I mean? In general, it's aimed at the fan, it's aimed at the local, it's aimed at people who come to the game week in, week out, know the club inside out. Then you have the likes of, and I would include the likes of, your Newcastles, your Evertons, you know what I mean? Your Manchester United, Manchester City almost as well. Maybe not Man U as much. Then you've got the likes of your Arsenal, your West Ham, your Chelsea, your London clubs. And in truth, I think the likes, if you were to ask these clubs hand on heart, do they want Do they want fans coming to matches? Do they care about atmosphere as much? I would say probably not. I think they're more so aimed at customers, people in London for the weekend, who don't question shelling out 90, 95, £100 for a ticket. Do you know what I mean? I'm looking here at ticket prices, the highest sold ticket prices this season. The top four clubs that have sold the highest ticket prices are Arsenal, West Ham, Chelsea, Tottenham. Can't be a coincidence either. Do you know what I mean? And again, when you talk to these clubs now, the corporate people, their angle on this is the fact that they don't want the same person having a repeat visit to the site week after week. What they want is a new customer in that seat every week that will go and empty the shop, it will empty the bars, it will empty the food. You know what I mean? And they can generate a maximum amount per head. Whereas the likes of Liverpool, Manchester United, or Manchester City, Everton, I think they're still aiming at trying to keep the fan involved whilst also trying to, I suppose, not price people out as well. But I do think it's coming to a point. You know, as you said, you had the Bayern Munich, I think they only entered the ground after the 7th minute to complain. And I think the stat at the time was, now you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they had said that the highest price ticket on the evening of that game was the equivalent of a Bayern Munich season ticket, which I think was £120. So I do think it's coming to a head, but at the same time, you know, clubs are greedy. They'll force the issue as much as I think they believe is acceptable within the demographic that attends the stadium, you know, and that is differing between north south, between the cities and between the kind of the more regional cities as well, you know. But yeah, I do think it's something that needs to be looked at so you can get the regular fan back into the grounds as well. But do I believe the clubs have an appetite? Probably not.
Yeah, when you look at the actual money they take in at the gate now, it's probably very, you know, in as a ratio, I suppose.
It's insignificant.
Yes, as towards, you know, all their other, you know, sponsorship deals. You know,
It's
they
certainly
have.
not make or break for the
Yeah,
clubs.
it's absolutely not at this moment now. Like if Liverpool have 50,000 at a 50,000 paying supporters at a ground, and they're paying 60 quid a ticket, it's what's 3 million. So you're looking at about 60 million on league games a season. It's a substantial amount of money. But I suppose when you look at all the stuff that has to go into the ground, and you know, policing and stewarding and different things, you know, it doesn't add up when it comes to short deals. Like Liverpool are being spoken about as a £1 billion short deal with Nike that could commence next season for 10 years. It's 100 million a year, you know. But it's one of those things. I just found it strange, and fair play to Spirit of Shankly. They are a group. They're a Liverpool group that pick up on these things when they see supporters are being wronged. I suppose that's the right word. If they are being wronged, that they will pick it up. They will stand up for supporters. You know, like that they were the ones that, when there was talk of £77 tickets at Anfield, and they were the ones that, you know, they were the ones that, you know, went and done this boycott. I think it was on the 77th minute people walked out, you know, the
Yeah,
kind of way, and it led to the club backtracking, and they've
yeah.
frozen certain prices since then. But it's just one of those things, you know.
You
Um,
probably saw the Arsenal movement there as well, the We Care to You movement that we did at our club as well, where kind of all the significant groups came together for the first time. And I suppose it wasn't explicitly in relation to ticket prices, but it was in relation to concerns about how the club has been privatised, the club has been run. And it has, you know, I suppose there's opinion in terms of how much of an impact it has had. But it's certainly provoked a response from the Cronkies. You know, it's resulted in, probably not, you know, directly resulted in some significant signings in the transfer market as well. But I do believe it shows that, you know, if fan groups can mobilise, if they can unite, and if they can still remain kind of respectful in relation to how they go about these things, I do think there's definite value in what they do.
yeah, absolutely. It's just, you know, you do need these groups around football clubs, because the money is getting so big. Because, you know, you know, when you look at short deals, and you look at, you know, Liverpool made £155 million off TV rights last season. You know, they were showed on TV more than anybody else. You know, that I only know that because I'm a Liverpool fan. Arsenal probably made the equivalent of probably somewhere north of 100 million themselves. You know, and when you look at the TV money, the sponsorship deals, I'm sure Arsenal have a nice lucrative deal with Adidas now.
Yeah,
You know, they have good money from Emirates for their stadium and their shirt sponsors. Liverpool the same with Standard Chartered. New Balance pay a lot of money. It looks like Nike are going to try to pay them a colossal amount of money. So these supporters groups are really important to not keep the club's feet on the ground, but keep them a little bit honest at times.
Oh, I would say that, yeah, it grounds the club, and I think Liverpool is very good, and I think Klopp kind of, in particular, taps into the kind of, the locality and the people that surround the club as well, because that is the heartbeat of the club, and things are good now for Liverpool. Like Liverpool are on the massive crest of a wave, and everything's coming easy for them, but it's cyclical. So these things, Liverpool will fall off the top of the tree eventually. They will slide off, and that's when they'll need to rely on their fans again, and they'll need the people to fall behind them, and they'll you always need that kind of generation coming through again. Do you know what I mean? And how you treat the fans whilst you're on the crest of a wave will always kind of mirror when you need to call it back on them again when things are down a little bit as well. So and Liverpool is one of the clubs I would say has very high value in relation to that as well. You know what I mean? They do tend to look after their supporters very well, and they've, you look at it and think, right, that's the model most clubs should be following at this stage as well.
Well, the one thing I would say is FSG came in to Liverpool, and I don't think they understood football. They made some stupid comments. I'm not going to beat around the bush here. They made some stupid comments around where they could get Liverpool and what they could do, and they kind of ran before they could walk. But they have listened, they have learned as they've gone along, and the likes of ticket prices and interaction with supporters groups and different things has got better and better as it's gone along. It really has. I've asked people for Arsenal questions. Chris Brack has asked me a question, and he says, and it's going to be directed at you, Davy, because I'm not going to answer the Arsenal stuff because I'm not as brave as you. But he asks, it's a question that a lot of people have asked on this. During the transfer window, the Pepe was linked with Liverpool. He was linked with different clubs. He goes to Arsenal for £72 million, I think was the price in the end. But he's asking, I don't think he's asking, you shouldn't have bought him. I think he looks a real prospect, so you could. But Chris is just asking here, do you feel that was a necessary signing, or do you feel that there's other parts of the squad that could have been bolstered and improved, before looking at the likes of a Pepe? I'm going to say probably centre midfield and most definitely centre half.
I would say our squad was so flawed going into this window that I would say the natural consensus among a lot of Arsenal fans would have been choice between a centre-back and a ball-carrying winger, the likes of your Wilfried Zaha or your Pepe. And I would say from watching Arsenal every week, they are absolutely craving a ball-carrying winger that can actually attack space, that can attack the channels, that can go forward like that. And I'd say Pepe was absolutely required. I think Arsenal would have initially kind of gone with the Zaha. I think they went to kind of lowball Palace, make it known that he's an Arsenal fan. They went to lowball, didn't work out, and it was actually that was the transfer I was discussing when the We Care to You, when Arsenal kind of mobilised that We Care to You. In the same week they announced the Pepe deal. I would imagine they had it on the back burner for a long time. I'd say they tried to prioritise Zaha, but then went with Pepe as well. I think Pepe obviously went with Arsenal because there's one thing that Arsenal have, and that's location being London, and I think a lot of players want London. It's the lifestyle it offers as well. And I also think he probably looked at it saying guaranteed starter with Arsenal, you know what I mean? And he's a chance to progress his career. He's another one. He's a YouTube talent I can't claim to have known kind of overtly well from his time in France, but I know a few people that would be very, very kind of close to the French leagues, and they were calling him out as a super talent. But as well, don't forget in that window, I mean, Arsenal, the reason we went for Pepe as well was because Nice were willing to accept that structured payment deal, you know what I mean, which meant we could pay for him over the 5 seasons, which it fit in with what we had as well. So it suited all sides to go with that deal as well. From what I've seen, he seems he's what I'd call kind of a liquid footballer. His legs never look like they're like strings, he doesn't look overly powerful or muscular, but he seems to be able to kind of manipulate the ball very well, almost like Asprilla, the way Asprilla used to move a football around. But he's good. But don't forget, Arsenal also invested very well in a centre half. They bought Saliba from Saint Etienne. He'll stay there on loan for the rest of the season, but he should add significant quality to the defence. And then also, I think what people were missing there was the fact that we have Tierney coming back from an injury when he signed. We have Bellerin coming back from an injury from early in the season.
Yeah.
We've Saliba coming in. We've Rob Holding coming back from an injury. We've Torreira and Guendouzi after the additional season in England where they were kind of finding their feet. We do have Xhaka. I know he polarizes he polarizes our fans and other fans, but he is a talented footballer. I think he's the next one to move on, but he is a talented footballer. And they're also looking at, I mean, they have the likes of, they have Joe Willock coming through. They have Emile Smith-Rowe coming through. They have Reece Nelson. They have a lot of talent coming, a lot of British talent coming through as well. So I think where Arsenal strengthened, I think most fans would agree that, I mean, from what I'm seeing across, the consensus seems to be it's an 8.5, 9 out of 10 window. And the other thing they've also managed to do really well is they've managed to offload a massive wedge of wages.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's kind of from Wenger's era. He gave very generous contracts to very average footballers. And I think if you did a count, we probably offloaded, I would say, about 14 players worth about £1 million a week. And that is all available, I would think, or the majority of that money is available to put back into the squad in January and next season as well. So I think we're absolutely, on the right track. I think Pepe was a perfect signing for us. I stand to be proven wrong, and I'm not trying to get carried away in the hype machine, but I think he will prove to be an outstanding talent in the Premier League. But the other thing Arsenal fans have to accept now as well, where we don't work in the same lines as Liverpool is, I think when these players, and I talk about Guendouzi, I talk about Torreira, I talk about Pepe, more so is when they become established talents, and you've already seen Guendouzi in the French squad, when they become established talents, I think we have to recognise now that our model will release them and we'll let them go for more money. And, that's how we plan to manage that self-sustaining model. As we know, Champions League is no longer a guarantee as well. But I suppose to answer your question, yes, I think Pepe was an absolute requirement for that Arsenal side. And I think they've had an excellent window overall as well, which I haven't said for a long time.
Yeah, you probably haven't. You won't know what's going on here, but I do a quiz. I've done a quiz over the transfer. I keep saying transfer window, and it's not over the fucking transfer window. It's over the international break. I hate international breaks that much. I can't even utter the words sometimes. So I keep substituting with transfer window. I've done quizzes over the international break. Because there's a lot less to talk about when it comes to club football when this is going on. Somebody's asked here, when is the next quiz? The next quiz is tomorrow night. Chris Brack, who asked the original question here, is the man that's going to come on tomorrow night. 10 questions from him, 10 questions from me, and we see how we get on. I'm unbeaten at the minute, but the lads haven't done themselves any favours. They need to brush up on the Liverpool stuff, and we get going from there. Hit him, Frank asks, the invincible side of Arsenal versus the 97-point team of Liverpool. He reckons Liverpool's is a bigger achievement. Davy, are we going to get into this?
Jeez, you're splitting hairs there. Anyway, I wouldn't argue it either way. Both exceptional sides.
Yeah. Do you know something? I had a little think about this the other day because I thought it would come up with yourself being on, and I think Liverpool's 97-point season is outrageous. 30 wins, 7 draws, 1 defeat. I think Arsenal had 26 wins and 12. Would it be right? 12 draws.
Yeah.
But you have to, when you weigh them both up, they're both brilliant, because I think it's a harder league when Arsenal were in it. That's my opinion. Because I think teams rolled over for City, and to an extent for Liverpool, not as much. I think they felt they had a chance against Liverpool. And put it up to them every now and then, but Liverpool were outstanding. Arsenal, it was a much better team. It was a much better league at that stage, in my opinion. It was much more competitive league where you would get teams that were 9th, 10th, 11th having a real go at the top 3, 4, 5.
But the big thing for me was as well though was that they were almost, that Arsenal side, the Invincibles, weren't sophisticated enough to transfer that form into Europe. They were almost kind of an English base. They were foreign players in an English league, and they kind of thrived in that environment, whereas they just couldn't seem to get their foot over the line in the European. And I'd be interested to see if these, obviously Liverpool have transferred it, but to see if the likes of Man City as well can kind of transfer that form now into European, because it's like, regardless of what you say, those seasons, they're just incredible to think of the levels of consistency. And there's always a degree of luck as well with injuries and things like that as well. I think any great club is only kind of 2 injuries away from really upsetting themselves. But you wouldn't mind seeing it played out, would you, in front of your eyes, just out of interest?
No, I wouldn't. Like you're talking about Pepe there, and a necessary signing. I agree with you, and it's one of those things where I get the feeling a lot of sides are trying to mirror what Liverpool's front three do, because it's so successful, and it's probably the front three that worry City the most. Because let's be honest, City you're competing against a country when you go up against City. You know, it's an economy you're going up against. But when you watch Liverpool's front three, like I think United are trying to do it a little bit, but with Lacazette, with Aubameyang, and with say Pepe, you are looking at something similar to the way Liverpool are trying to do it. You know, so it's
but what you're looking at with Liverpool though is you're looking at three players, and each player fits their role like 10 out of 10 perfectly. Whereas with Arsenal, you've got three equally talented footballers, but you end up with this almost uneven attacking trio of a centre forward playing on the left wing, a centre forward playing centre forward, but is probably not your fox in the box centre forward, and then you've got your right winger that's still trying to get used to the league and to the game as well. So I mean, we do on paper we do have an enviable front three, but I think there's a lot of work to do there as well. But the piece that always interests me is, and it was kind of a hot topic last week because of the midfield we played in Anfield, and people were saying, oh, Ceballos should have played because he would have been the link between our front three and our midfield. And
well, he does play that game at Anfield, but he
does, but the big thing that kills me is that like we talk about missing this link man to our front three, but like Liverpool played Fabinho, Milner, Henderson, Wijnaldum.
Fabinho, yeah.
None of them guys are link players, yet Liverpool never seem to struggle to get the ball to their front three.
Because what Liverpool do is, and people need to realise this, and listen, I have arguments with Liverpool fans all the time about Liverpool's midfield. Liverpool's midfield, first and foremost, is to be functional. And what I mean by that is protect us, win the ball, pressure the other side, get it back. And I'm going to be honest, Liverpool have 5 attackers on the pitch. It's the front three and it's the 2 fullbacks.
Yeah,
and absolutely. These 3 lads are there to serve us all the time. I was at the Norwich City game at the first night of the season, okay? And I came out of the ground and I was kind of reading, social media, reaction to the game, and I was having a point, and I seen this, Henderson was this, or Wijnaldum was that, and Fabinho was good, and I kind of went, at one stage during the game, and I don't tell a lie, and I continuously see this in Liverpool's play, and people don't pick up on it and refuse to acknowledge it. Jordan Henderson is standing in the middle of the park, all right? The Norwich left full goes and stands literally on the touchline, on the halfway line, right? Now, Mohamed Salah's thing should be, I'll drop back here because he's my man. And Jordan Henderson continuously tells Mohamed Salah, you stay where you are. I'll come out of this midfield. I will protect that area for you, and you go and pin yourself to that left-hand centre back. And what happens? The ball, Liverpool win the ball. Henderson goes around, mills into players, wins it back, gives it to somebody. He gives it to, and Salah's one-on-one with a centre half that's absolutely terrified him. Liverpool's midfield is there to be functional. Now, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see more goals from them, like Wijnaldum does for Holland. But you have to remember, if you have 2 fullbacks flying and you've three and really good strikers, and I call them strikers because I believe they are. I think any of them can play through the middle, so I call them strikers. Your midfield 3 then need to be A, picking up the pieces, B, blocking off avenues, especially in your fullback areas, and protecting your centre halves. That's where Fabinho comes in. So, but I will say on that day when I looked at Arsenal, I thought, they're playing a diamond here.
Yeah.
Right? And then and they had Ceballos, or whatever way it's said, the furthest up, and I thought, no, they need to get him deeper and trying to influence the game. You know that way? That's just the way I found it that day.
The big thing with Arsenal right now, again, is, and Arsenal are very, like Liverpool are without doubt the absolute finished product. You know what I mean? And they've I always say this about Liverpool, any great side has what I call a massive set of automatic. You know what I mean? Like, nobody has to think about what they need to do next. Nobody needs to kind of even look over their shoulder to see where the other man is, because it's just ingrained in them. They know it. They know each other inside out. Whereas Arsenal right now, week to week, is, right, what's the formation? What are the midfield 3? What way is it going to work? Liverpool change very little week to week. You know what I mean? And it's so obvious when they walk onto the pitch. You know that way? And those three are your foundation, And in turn they know that the 2 lads behind them, probably Matip and Van Dijk and Alisson, the confidence in that kind of 6 to defend the goal is incredible. Whereas, at the moment, we've made a lot of changes, which is difficult to do. We've made probably 6 changes to the first team in the last 6 months. But when you turn around, right, and you've got, and I call it kind of the Bermuda Triangle of you've got Socrates, Luiz, and Xhaka. in front of your goalkeeper, you're kind of thinking, well, fuck me, like literally anything can happen. You know what I mean? Like Luis is just as likely to pull somebody back as he is to put one in the top corner of the other goal. But like that's a very uncertain footing to be on. Whereas Liverpool right now, they're about as confident and about as sure-footed and automatic as it gets. And it's, you can see it every week. There's no doubt in their heads going out onto the pitch that they're going to win this game. And I would say 95% of teams that go out on the pitch against Liverpool are already thinking, let's just get this over with, lads. We'll move on.
There's a couple of mentions here for Arsene Wenger, right? I'll couple them together. Chris Brack asks, is Wenger's biggest failure that he couldn't win Arsenal the European Cup, especially in the team he had for the first 10 years? Now, he's not saying that it's easy. He has says that. And then North Red asks, do you consider Wenger a legend, or did his loitering around for the last couple of the seasons kind of take the gloss off, I suppose?
Well, I would think I wouldn't say it's his biggest failure not to win a European Cup, but I would say it was his biggest regret. And I'd say he's still has sleepless nights over that night in Paris where they just couldn't get it over the line, because that was a fabulous side he had as well. Now, don't get me wrong, Barcelona were good as well. But I think his biggest failure was almost came from that game where he saw the Barcelona style, and he kind of abandoned the Invincibles or that side kind of quite soon after that, and he got rid of his. I mean that people always used to say about that Arsenal side, you'd line up beside them in the tunnel, and you were talking Sol Campbell, Patrick Vieira, even the bloody winger Pires was 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah.
Like, this was a monstrous team, and he obviously then he had the choice. He obviously went to build the Emirates quite soon after that. He went with this, what do they call it? What's the Barcelona style of play? The
tiki-taka.
Tiki-taka. He almost went with that style of tiki-taka midfield. He got away with it for a long time because he had a genius in Cesc Fabregas in the midfield. But what I think he learned quite quickly was, after he lost Fabregas, was, they don't grow on trees, players at this kind of vision. Like, he was carrying the club for probably 5 seasons as well. Yeah. And I think then, and it's not that he failed. It's that I think, first of all, he had far too much control at one club, and nobody was allowed challenge his methods. And I think, secondly, he failed to evolve. I think every manager gets to that point where they just fail to evolve. And it was very obvious, at a certain point after, post Emirates, where clubs were becoming bigger, more athletic, more physical. And he was just, and even tactically, clubs were developing and were evolving. Whereas it was very much, the feedback we were getting from within the club was that, like, Wenger played 5-a-side 5 days a week in training. Wenger didn't coach defence. Wenger put faith in players like Almunia. Somebody said to me Almunia played like 7-8 first-team seasons at Arsenal. Like things like that. It was crazy. And this is what was driving the fans. I think deep down, Arsenal fans will always love Wenger, but will always choose to remember his first 10 years as opposed to his second 10 years,
Yeah.
And even if he'd have walked away after that, that FA Cup against Chelsea, all would have been forgiven. You know what I mean? He'd have walked away a legend, all forgiven. He pulled out that one last performance himself, Mertesacker, a few more, could have walked away happy. And again, he failed to recognize the occasion or the moment. He stuck around for one more year. He was handing out contracts again to all his buddies and all his friends. He wasn't managing the budget correctly. Yeah. And the club are probably 5, 6, 7 years behind the elite clubs now. Do you know what I mean? And we're slowly clawing our way back. He'll always be loved. He'll always be respected. But I think people absolutely recognize now the man was seriously flawed when it came to, evolving.
Yeah.
And he became a dinosaur in a very modern world,
And it's funny, isn't it? Because if you go back that 20 years, he comes into Arsenal, and I've listened to podcasts where Ray Parler's spoken, Tony Adams has spoken, all these lads from that. Where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Like Ray Parler talks of, I think it was the Tuesday Club they used to call it, and every Tuesday they get off early, and I think they might have had a Wednesday off. Yeah, they got off early on a Tuesday and they had a Wednesday off before a game on a Saturday. And they literally come out, went around the corner from Highbury and went on the lash. And the thing was, like, what they used to do was this was when George Graham was in charge. And what they used to do was they used to go into training, and they'd run really hard, and they'd be telling George Graham, this is brilliant, this training is brilliant. And George Graham used to go, the lads love me. Lads, go on, off you go. And they'd let him, even though they were on a half day, they were getting off early for a half day. They were playing this man. But Wenger comes in and he's like, no, you don't do this, you don't do that, you don't, he revolutionises Arsenal anyway, and he has a massive effect on English football. It's Parler also talks about the time they go away on a pre-season tour, and you've all the English lads, and they're all going out, go out for a few pints, and the French lads are sitting having a cigarette in a cafe,
Yeah.
So it's one,
But
it's strange to see a guy that revolutionises a lot about, because a lot of people, and I would, and I know people my age and older, and probably a little bit younger, will go back and go, well, Wenger came in and the thing was he stuck it to Ferguson very early on, that kind of way, and he went and he had these methods, and but it's mad to see then that a guy that was so methodical and so forward thinking in the mid-90s comes to how many years ago was he gone now? He's only gone 2 years, but when you go back 5 or 6 years, it's crying out for him to revolutionise Arsenal again, and it doesn't happen. I feel that the questions have been a little bit, not negative, but people have asked different things, Here's one for you. What a Liverpool fan says, have we ever really got over that Michael Thomas goal? And you know what the thing is, like, Phil Casey's a mutual friend of ours. Phil put me in contact with you for this podcast tonight. Phil Casey, I think that is the one thing that haunts Phil Casey more than anything in this world. When it comes down to Liverpool going for the league last season in a European Cup final, he always turns around and goes, yeah, but why didn't John Barnes just take her in the fucking corner? Just take her in the fucking corner. And he goes absolutely berserk. I seen him have a meltdown one night, completely unrelated to Arsenal, Liverpool or anything, and he literally came out with a 5-minute rant about John Barnes not taking that ball in that corner. But
it's funny.
Go on.
No, I was just going to say, like, these things that they've a funny way of kind of just burning themselves into your brain, and look, that was obviously just one of those moments where you look back and you always hope that you'll kind of end up on the right side of one of these results as well, and it's funny because it doesn't matter, like I'll probably never live. Well, it's unlikely I'll probably live to see my team win a European Cup, and I had a 13-year-old came up to me there a few weeks ago, and he said to me, like, Jesus, I can't believe I've had to wait 13 years, but finally, my dreams have come true, and I've seen my team win a European Cup or win the European Champions League, and I was kind of thinking, Jesus, you don't know pain till you've been what we've been through. But even like what grinds my gears sometimes and brings me back is when I think about Michael Owen's winner in Cardiff against us. Do
Yes,
you know what I mean?
And somebody has asked here, has Davy ever got over Stefan Honcho playing in goal that day?
The Honcho's handball. And do you know what else kills me as well from when I think of Liverpool games? Like the 6-0s or the 5-0 hammerings, like you can just accept them and move on because they were never. It's the frustrating moments that kill me. And I remember it's the game. I think Fabregas had scored in the Emirates. I think he'd scored like a 96-minute penalty against you to go 4-3 up. Do you remember? And Dirk Kuyt went down the other end, and Aboué just ran into him for no reason.
Oh, I ran into the back of Lucas.
Yeah, or Lucas, sorry, he was, yeah. And you scored 4-all. And I remember that night, my now wife had texted me at 97 minutes after Fabregas scored to say congratulations, And she came home, and I was just sitting on the couch, and I said, right now, tonight's the lesson. You never text anybody till that game is over. So like it's funny. I know that obviously that game kind of grinds on Liverpool fans' gears, but it's those kind of unlikely.
Hold on, we're talking the 4-all here at Anfield.
No, it was in the Emirates. I'm nearly sure it was in the Emirates.
No, there was a 4-all at Anfield where Arshavin gets 4. Liverpool are going for the title in 08-09. Ben Ayoun, I think, equalises near the end.
Right.
Nearly gets his head taken off. The one you're thinking of is Van Persie scores a penalty. I think Arsenal are in the run for the league. This is I think is 10-11. Dalglish is in charge. Dalglish is in charge of Liverpool. Van Persie gets a 92-minute penalty. Liverpool go up the other end. There's 5 minutes of injury time, 6, and Aboué hits the back of Lucas. Kuyt equalises.
Yeah.
Wenger goes mad, and Dalglish tells him to fuck off.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's what you're thinking of.
Yeah. That was one that just really stuck in my throat as well. But look, that's kind of half the joy, isn't it? Like for every moment, every football fan's the same. Like somebody will say, "Well, you just won the Champions League," and you're going thinking, "Yeah, but like, why didn't Barnes just stick the bleeding ball out?" You know what I mean? We'd have still won the league. It's in our nature. We're never happy, or we'll always go back to that one moment that cost us something, as opposed to just being able to take it out of our minds. And I mean, look, at least you guys have never had to experience Manuel Almunia in a Champions League final. That's really how to live on the edge.
Liverpool versus everybody asks the best beer in Ireland. I'll let you go first, Davy.
Oh well, do you know what? I'm not the man to be asking here. I drink Budweiser.
Right. Well, you're definitely not the man to ask. Liverpool versus everybody. If you get a good pint of Guinness, it's phenomenal. It really, really is. I only started drinking about a year ago. Not
I
even a
don't
year
get
ago.
it.
Yeah, I was in a pub. I said to a guy, I don't even drink that stuff. And he goes, I'll just try one. And I loved it. But beer wise, look, the
Oh,
standard stuff.
it's all chemical piss now, isn't it?
Yeah, I like the German malt beers. I like them. The cloudy stuff doesn't give you a hangover. Go for
We
something like that.
we could
Uh,
pretend we're into IPAs, but like we're just not.
yeah. Now, Liverpool have Newcastle at the weekend, Davy.
Yes.
Early kick off, 12:30. I'm actually in
Yeah.
London, so I'm going to find a pub to watch it in. Um, I was thinking a bit earlier about rotation and what Liverpool could do. Maybe Firmino, after being away with Brazil, might take a break, but he's flying since the Copa America, which
Yeah.
is
They were beaten. They were beaten last night, weren't they,
they
by
were
Peru?
beaten 1-0 by Peru, yeah. But Firmino came back last season after World Cup and took a long time to get going.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking, and so I was looking at that and I was thinking, we might do this, we might do that, but I'm really confident in the squad that we have. Like you said there a couple of minutes ago, Liverpool go onto a pitch now and they're in no doubt they're winning the game. And it
Mm.
doesn't matter if it's 60, 70, 80 minutes, they're completely in the zone that they're winning the game. And they break teams down by making them run a hell of a lot. And then when they're tired, they hit them. But just in terms of the Arsenal squad, is there a lot there? Do you feel there's a lot there that if you need to, you know, if Aubameyang needs a rest or a Lacazette or maybe I don't know, pick anyone else.
Well,
Gendouzi, I
I
like your
was,
man Gendouzi. I have to be honest with you.
yeah.
Do you feel there's enough there that if they had to go out and make 2 or 3 changes to
I,
say for argument's sake, a Lacazette and the
I
goalkeeper?
I think there's enough tactically to put out sides every week. You know what I mean? But it's very hard when you have a front three like Liverpool have or Arsenal have. Once you take one of them out, it's very hard to kind of. I know you guys have Shaqiri, and I'm just thinking Firmino, like Origi. Origi is almost the perfect. You should be looking to give him 10, 15 games a season in the league when the likes of Firmino's coming home from Brazil, just to give him, Firmino's coming home from Brazil, you're home to Newcastle, you've got Origi there who's proven himself on the big occasion for you guys. That's textbook. Take out Firmino, give him the few minutes, anyway. Have him on the bench, put him in when you need to. And I have to say, I'm a bigger fan of, I don't like this 6, 7 changes because it looks like an inferior opponent is coming. I'd be more of a fan of making one rotation a game. You know what I mean? And I like the idea, of putting the younger kids or the less experienced players in with a full side 10. So at least then they've got the experience around them. I don't like putting 5 or 6 second choice players in together because they're all kind of nervous together then. But then I also think, the style of play that Klopp's not kind of as gegenpressing as he used to. It's not as kind of furious as it used to be.
No, it's absolutely not.
They're better at picking their moments now, I think, as opposed to just it used to be just fire and thunder, and I think everyone assumed that's how it had to be. Whereas now they've got that perfect balance of they'll hold, and then all of a sudden they don't give you a second. So I think from Liverpool's perspective, I would certainly look at giving Firmino the rest, put Origi in. I'm surprised Shaqiri doesn't seem to get any minutes really with Liverpool.
To be honest with you, he got a good run and at the start of last season. He was really good, and then I don't know whether he got an injury, but he went off the boil a little bit. There's a couple of games he played and he didn't quite really impress. There was one where he come on at Old Trafford against United. United were absolutely there for the taking. I think they did make 3 subs before half time, and they were appalling. And Shaqiri was the 4th sub, brought him on, and he was probably brought on to influence the game and pick a lock, I suppose, around
Yeah.
United. And it didn't happen for him. And since that, he just seemed to disappear. He had an injury over the summer. He came back. He was late back to pre-season. He stayed away from Switzerland, supposedly to improve his fitness and get into Klopp's, mind again. But then there was talk that he refused to go away to Switzerland because he didn't make him captain. There was all sorts of stuff like that. But it's one of those where
He doesn't seem to be in a good space at the moment anyway. Which
no,
is
he doesn't
all.
seem to be in a good space. But I think most managers, will go out and try up to that international break, try play their best team, use them, get them through it, away an international break, and then they come back, assess, and see where they're going.
This,
I believe most, if not all, Premier League managers, literally plan weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks in advance, and they're picking teams already and just kind of monitoring situations as it goes along.
But it's funny though because you're at this weird kind of moment, and it's the same every season now. But it's this funny moment where you're trying to pick, like the manager, as you said, they're planning, but they're literally planning for 4 games. They lose their players for 2 weeks, and now they're back. they have to plan again. It's only 4 more games before the international break again. You know what I mean? So it's very difficult to kind of, generate that momentum, which you obviously want to get with your formation, with your players. But then you've got to consider their travel arrangements, their injuries. And let's be honest, I always say, like, we really haven't a clue what's happening behind the scenes in terms of niggles or, psychologically how a player is, or, there's a lot we don't get to consider when selections are made. And it is a massive consideration for the likes of, Liverpool bringing Firmino back in, because he's the cog around which your front 3, 4, 5 kind of operate. Do you know what I mean? He's that central cog that everything works around, and it is difficult, I would imagine, to leave him out. And look, hindsight's always a wonderful thing. I remember Arsenal did it last season against Palace. They made 3 or 4 changes, and they put in some really fucking seriously poor players. Everyone was okay before the game because they thought they still had enough on the pitch to win. They were beaten 3-2, cost them the Champions League, and we still harp on about it. Do you know what I mean? So, rotation's wonderful as long as it works. And that's always been my approach to it. It's always wonderful as long as it works. But if you lose, like if Liverpool take out Firmino, you know what I mean, give Van Dijk a rest, whatever it may be. I mean, Van Dijk shouldn't really need to kick a ball on Saturday. But let's say they do give him a rest and Liverpool drop points.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're thinking, well, that's madness.
Well, we're in a situation where, as a Liverpool fan, I feel that you can't drop a point in this Premier League. That's how ridiculous it's got. It is relentless, and 97 and 98 points is absolutely savage from 2 teams last season. It was just absolutely unbelievable. Arsenal are away to Watford, am I right?
We are, yeah.
Okay, so Watford have sacked the manager. So basically, what will happen then is it Saturday or Sunday? Is it?
Sunday 4:30.
Sunday 4:30. Basically, what will happen is they will get something of the equivalent of David Moyes, roll him in, stick him in the dugout, 2-0 win to Watford because manager bounce.
Your man's back. Quique Sanchez Flores is already.
There you go. He's back.
They announced him. Something funny happened there because your man. I don't know if he resigned or if he was fired.
No, he was sacked.
He was sacked, and they'd announced Quique Sanchez Flores within 5 minutes. So they obviously had the whole thing lined up. But he had left previously because he was unhappy with the board. So obviously there's been conversations there, and he's come back in.
Yeah.
But yeah, sure. Look, we'll have the dreaded bounce now. Danny Welbeck, probably 93rd minute winner.
Oh Jesus! And Troy Deeney knocking one in at some stage.
He's injured, so he's not back till January.
He's still scoring Saturday. It's a bounce.
Everyone says like that he's our crux and he's Arsenal's thing, but since he scored the winner against us like 5 or 6 games ago, he's missed a penalty, he's been sent off, and he's been substituted injured twice since he's played it. So he's not as much as a hoodoo as people think. But it's a difficult fixture. I know. They're defensively they're very poor, Watford. And I think they play a kind of small, nimble front 3 now. I think they play Pereira, Deulofeu, and Jermaine Gray up front now. So I mean, it shouldn't be the game it was last season. You know what I mean? They kicked the shite out of us last season, but we still bet them 1-0. But like for us every week, we don't know what's coming. Do you know what I mean? We don't know. We know the back 5. We know the keeper and the full backs and the centre backs at this stage. We don't really know the midfield 3, and we don't know if he's going to go with the front 3 away from home either. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't. I think Lacazette's carrying an injury, but he doesn't get in with France, so I assume he'll be a starter. Aubameyang will probably start. Pepe, he might not. Do you know what I mean? And then he's still. I assume he's still looking to try and get the likes of Ozil back in the squad, give Willock a couple of minutes as well. So and Ceballos, I assume Ceballos. I mean, Jesus, he'd be the first name on my team sheet every week. He's a fabulous footballer. I think once he gets used to English football, I think we've a serious talent, if only temporarily for the moment. But I don't know if you saw him for Spain there during the week. But Jesus, some of his passing was just
he's a player. There's no doubt about it. He is a player. There's no doubt about it. Give me your prediction for the Watford Arsenal game.
Watford Arsenal. I'm going to go with a 2-1 for Arsenal.
Okay, and you might as well give me a prediction for Liverpool Newcastle as well.
All 3-0.
3-0. Okay.
Yeah.
Last question. Listen, if people are watching this, they've watched it on Twitter, you watch it on YouTube. Don't forget to share it. Don't forget to your timelines. Don't forget to let people know. Subscribe to the channel. The more people we get in here, the more questions we get. Like, why didn't John Barnes take it in the corner? So look, the more we get, the better. Absolutely. So I always say that every show. I'm just reminding you. I'm going to go on to one last little thing before I finish. But tomorrow night we have Chris back on to do the quiz. Friday I'll have to announce what's going on because I'm in London. Saturday I will probably do something from the pub while watching the just after watching the Liverpool game. It's been a really good show. I've really enjoyed it. I'd like to thank Davy for coming on. But Davy, the last thing, and it's a question that popped up here. I think it might have been a guy called Kev O'Sullivan said it, and he wants to know, what way do you feel about the Europa League? Could it stifle Arsenal this season?
Um, I'd be surprised if it stifled us this season. I think he's learned his lessons from last season. I think Emery came in. I think he was trying to find out about all his players last season, so he was putting them all in for a lot of the games. I think he'll manage the group stages a lot more carefully now. I think he will put in the young ones. I think he will use the likes of his Mustafis, that are not going to get regular game time. And I'd be surprised if we saw him going too strong in the group stages. And then I think he'll pick it as he needs it. But I mean, the one thing with it that's in the back of my mind about Emery this season is it's all or nothing on him this season. He knows, regardless of how he does it or what he does, he needs Champions League football. And I think he will prioritise the top four in the Premier League, and then I think he will take the Europa League. I think he'll take it step by step this season, but I think he blew our league chances on the Europa League last season, and it backfired badly. And I'd say he got a bit of a bollocking behind the scenes.
He's going to have to weigh these up, isn't he? Come February, March.
Oh, absolutely. The big thing they have at the moment, though, Arsenal, is they have a chance to go back in January if it all comes together and they need one or two players. But, again, look, we did that 2 seasons ago. We bought Aubameyang and couldn't bleed and use him in the Europa League, which probably cost us as well against Atletico Madrid. But no, I'd be surprised if we didn't see just a slightly more cerebral approach to the group stages and just navigating it. There's no point beating everybody 4-0 in the group stages, going through, and having Ozil. And, these would have been our top players last season. You have Ozil, you have Nacho Monreals, you have all these guys who know the game inside out, thinking, why the fuck am I on a 6-hour plane ride to Bratislava here? You know what I mean? Like, now it's a chance to put in the kids. They've got the quality. They've got the necessary kind of ability. Now it's about getting them game time on pitch as well. And I think, sorry, just one more point is, I think that's the Arsenal model now. I think it's going to slightly mirror Chelsea's model in terms of bringing through kids, giving them a little bit of game time. And if they're not going to be Arsenal quality, let's use them to navigate the group stages of the Europa League. Nearly the Champions League, Jesus. I wish. Let's get them game time. Let's let them navigate the group stages of the Europa League. Let's get them a few league minutes, and then let's sell them on for 3, 4, 5 million. They did that with a few players this summer as well, kind of under the radar. You know what I mean? And it's a way of these top clubs now earning 10, 15, 20 million a summer, which if you can reinvest in a top player is a massive bonus. So I think that's how I would expect to see Emery kind of navigate because it's an absolute slog of a competition.
Yeah, it's madness. It's about 45 games, I think, to win it.
I think I read we'd 14,000 miles to travel.
There you go. It's absolutely mad. Yes or no? Do you get top 4?
Yes.
Okay, good man. I like a man that's confident. Right, I think that's about it. As I said, Chris Brack is on tomorrow for the quiz, 10 p.m. I can't wait to get me questions ready tomorrow for Chris. I'm sure he's feeling the same. Nobody on the chat seems to like Heavy D, the Arsenal fan. I don't know why. They think the guy with the headphones is okay. They think the host is sound, and the old fella is great crack. What that means, I don't know. Indy Coyle is on Twitter at the moment. He's telling people that Man City are going to try sign Paul Pogba. Indy Coyle is what a bloke. What a bloke. Kerkers wants Brewster in the team. I'm presuming for the weekend. Barry Carr says we need to get an Evertonian on if you can find one. I'm in the process of speaking to one. I really, really am. But look, that's been it. That's been the Fatback 4 Daily. It has been a pleasure. Davy, you have been very honest, very candid. And look, you've been a good sport overall. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Talk to you tomorrow. Over now.